Okay, recently Richard Coughlin put out a video about him doing the Chilli ME challenge. I was quite unaware that this challenge was out there. I'm very glad it is out there and people are now burning their mouths out and throwing up essentially for a charity. One of the reasons that it's important to me personally is I have a history of chronic fatigue. Okay, so the more research that's done and the more funding that's brought into chronic fatigue as a result of this level of awareness is, very, very important. What I want to do is to explain from my point of view what it's like to actually have a form of chronic fatigue and how difficult that can be for you as a human individual. There are many different varieties and various different subtle varieties of chronic fatigue, and ME, which is one of them, okay, has its own like subset of causes or understood causes so far. So if there is ever a test for ME, that would not necessarily test you for other forms of chronic fatigue and post-viral fatigue syndrome, which is out there. So just thought I would explain to you how complex this is. Okay, well, from the top, you look perfectly normal, you look healthy, but you've got very little energy. So all the time you're always accused of being lazy. You get people shouting at you, stop being so lazy, and every single and whenever someone raises their voice at you in that way, it doesn't just hurt you, it just like puts you into a black state. It's difficult to describe. You can't really pull yourself out of it. It doesn't just hurt you. It's almost like it temporarily mentally incapacitates you. You can't handle people shouting at you. It drives you basically mad. Your body can't absorb vitamins and minerals, so you have to live off vitamins and minerals every day, and if you can't afford them, then your health will go downhill dramatically because your body can't properly absorb or adjust them. So you have to have a good vitamin and mineral regime anyway. You want to be normal. You desperately want to be normal, but you look at everything else that everyone else does in terms of their studies and their work and their working environments, and you recognize that it's not intellectually beyond you. Okay, you're probably one of the more intelligent people that you've come across, okay? But you know full well, as far as the energy that's required just to live a normal day, or indeed a subsequent number of normal days, is going to be too much. And if you carry on forcing yourself and forcing yourself and forcing yourself, you don't just reach the wall, you push yourself over the edge and you go mad, basically, because you're drained, you're depleted, and you're trying desperately to be normal and you can't, and it just twists the brain completely. So you can't have a normal life, you can't have a normal lifestyle, even if you wanted to. You're typically very emotionally sensitive, and that's not out of choice, that's just because of the way it is. It's not because you're weak as a person. You've probably got quite a lot of strong willpower, but you're just finding everything very, very, very difficult. And also when in conversation, you may forget what you're saying halfway through a sentence and try and find a way of filling in the gap, and you can't always do that. It can sometimes feel like it's like you're wading through fog, okay, or you're wading through treacle, because everything is slow and absolutely everything is an effort. Something basic and simple like writing a shopping list is literally too much effort. Okay, it can really be like that at times, and so lots of day-to-day chores just don't get done because you haven't got the energy to be able to do it. Like your washing may pile up until you finally got that moment in the day at some point in which you finally got the energy to be able to do the washing up, which is essentially appalling. So you can't have that structured day that a normal person does, and it's very, very difficult. I think it's the emotional sensitivity that really gets to me the most personally, because like normal things that normal people can handle and just brush over, you can't. And sometimes because like you're nutritionally deficient, or whatever, you end up going into a bit of a dream world. Not because you want to, but because it's just almost impossible to concentrate on the outside external reality that you are involved in. It requires a lot of work to do that. And of course, when it's really, really bad, you can't even walk across a room this size, and this is a very small room. Okay, there's various different degrees and levels, and if you're someone who's got a form of chronic fatigue, you've got to work out what in particular is wrong with you at that time, what you think you can do, what you think you can't do, what you know you can't do, and to try and build a life or a day around what your self-knowledge is at that moment, at that present point in time. So it's absolutely difficult, and of course the lack of understanding that you come across in people. I mean, someone says, you know, just get fit and build muscle. Well, what if you can't absorb nutrition at that time in your year, or, you know, in that particular period of time? No, you can't. Someone says get fit and you'll overcome this, that and the other. No. Get fit, you build a good immune system. No, you don't have a good immune system. You can't build a good immune system. Okay, you rely upon your vitamins and your minerals and any other health supplements you can lay your hands on in order to try and give you the ability to fight off even the most basic stuff. Alright, you don't have an immune system. You will catch every cold and every flu and every virus that's going, and probably worse than other people, which is not good. You'll have allergies, and you'll have nutrition, reactions to foods, and you won't know which ones they are, and they will change over time. So you can be perfectly okay with, let's say, soy milk. Okay, let's say you react badly to dairy, you go on to soy milk, you're fine with it for a while. Then all of a sudden, your brain goes funny, your body goes funny, you can't understand it. So you've got to work out what else it is you're eating at that time or drinking at that time that's messing around with you, and then stopping that thing. Then, of course, the B vitamin deficiencies can create all kinds of cognitive issues and even like hallucinations in the dead of the night and that sort of thing, which is very difficult to deal with in general, because it's frightening. There was a time when I was young and I wasn't receiving all the full levels of B vitamins and the rest of it. I was terrified to go to sleep at night. I was terrified to go to bed. So that was a challenge. And of course, all the fit, healthy people in the world just look at you as if you're some kind of leper, because they're not like you, okay? And you will find the normal things that they can cope with very difficult, and you will try very hard to be normal, and you will hope to be normal, and you won't be. And you have to reach a point of accepting that you aren't normal, that you are different physically, you are different mentally. You have to have a great quantity of self-knowledge and self-discipline as best as you can, and to make sure that if anyone else makes some kind of food recommendation for you or exercise recommendation for you, you tell them to fuck off. Why do you tell them to fuck off? Because they don't understand you. They are not in your body. They are not in your brain. They do not have the sensitivity of awareness of what's going on inside you. So there's very few people out there who can actually provide you with any real help and support. And other people who've got other forms of chronic fatigue won't understand you either, because they've got a different variety of it. So there's no feeling of total community, or we're all in this together. Let's say I was a member of the deaf community. I couldn't hear and I could only communicate using British Sign Language. But that was the only thing that was wrong with me. Then maybe I'd have a feeling of community with the deaf people, or with the deaf community. Okay, I don't have a community for people who have chronic fatigue. It's not, it's not there for me. All I can do is the best I can do for my health, and explore things like alternative health and alternative diets, and trying to cleanse myself as best as I can. Make sure that I'm, essentially just looking after myself well. And also the work which I do as an online tarot reader working from home, this is an ideal job for me, because I do it from home. I can just about keep my head above water. It's all right. Okay, and I can cope with it, and on top of that, I'm actually designed to do it. Something about the way in which I think and the way in which I am, which means that I can give, good wisdom and support people and entertain people. So this is ideal for me as a chronic fatigue sufferer. Okay, if I didn't have chronic fatigue, I'd have completed my GCSEs perfectly, completed A-levels perfectly, and become an electronic engineer. Alright, but on the other hand, if I didn't have chronic fatigue, then you people out there wouldn't have had the point of view which I've got, which has helped in some small parts to stop the New Age movement from being quite so bloody stupid. And it is stupid. And you people out there should know that by now, but because of what I've been telling you. Alright? I mean, what else? There's issues with sugar, because you've got a candida overgrowth, which you've always got to carry on controlling. There's issues with gluten, yeast, dairy. There's issues with everything. Dust. So you've got to have an air ionizer. You've got to spend money on things for your health. Okay, and if you haven't got the money, you'll just get sicker and sicker and sicker. This is one of the reasons why working and earning money is so important, because essentially, you know, especially if you're a chronic fatigue sufferer, you're fucked. You are seriously fucked. Money is the most important thing, because without that you're screwed. You've got to make sure you've got your healthy food, you've got to make sure you've got your vitamin and mineral supplements, anything else that you can use to boost your health and kill off the candida and all the rest of that stuff. It's, you know, each and every single day can be a real ordeal. Which is bad. And of course there's, you know, I mean, I try and override it and overcome it, not only through trying to do all the healthiest things I can, but also through my caffeine and nicotine intake, which is what I've been using so as I can try and function like a normal person. You know, it's a hard thing to cope with, alright? And what I've just described with you, what I've just discussed with you, just the tip of the iceberg of what this is all about. It's crap. So the more research is done into all the forms of chronic fatigue, all the forms of this, that and the other, the better. Seriously, the better. Thanks, Richard, for bringing my attention to this. God bless you.